All right. Well, welcome everybody to the June Discord AMA. Oh, man.
Sorry, issues. Can you hear me?
Yep, can hear you.
Oh, amazing.
We were starting without you. We were just literally getting going. It's recording already.
That's all right. If you snooze, you lose, I guess.
Yeah. So I guess it's on you, unless you want me to start first, Robin, so you have a moment, but
go ahead, Mike. Go ahead.
All right. So I'm going to run through some quick updates, just to get everybody up to speed. Some of these things are obviously not announced yet on Discord, but will be. So you guys are hearing it first. So I know there's some people here that have HiFix stations that are not performing the way they should. We have been in very constant communication with HiFix throughout the process. And at this point, there will be an announcement coming shortly for the station owners that have seen a sudden range drop. There is a solution and a movement towards that. So this should help close this chapter for them and obviously us by association, since they're the ones creating our only approved hardware at this point. So I can't tell you much other than things have moved forward. They went through, like I've said in Discord before, they had to go through a normal process to identify what was going on with stations first through us to make sure it wasn't a software issue that was related to Wingbits software, then to start requesting stations back and getting those returned, then the investigation on those stations one by one to identify what potential issue is at hand. They've moved past that phase. They're now on to the next. I'm not going to speak for them. Obviously, they don't work for us or anything, and we don't have all the information they have, but they have an announcement coming that should help clarify everything. So there is light at the end of the tunnel. Network stats update. Quick network stats. Before I go into that, since Will, you're asking, and I just happened to notice, if you have an issue that is not related to a sudden range drop, such as your antenna rattles or the unit doesn't power on at all, no LED lights, make sure, and this stands for anybody going forward that's listening on YouTube or whatever, if you have an issue with your HiFix device, please reach out to Wingbits support through the website. There's a chat icon on the bottom right that you can do a support chat. The AI will come up. You can ask for a human, and we'll be happy to work through it with you to verify what the issue is. Most likely, if it is identified as a hardware issue, we will have you make a ticket. We will suggest you make a ticket with HiFix so that the manufacturer of the device knows about it and can resolve it. We obviously can't do anything at that point other than we want to vet the issue and make sure that we understand that it's not related to our end. And then at that point, we can move forward and you can work with the manufacturer to get a replacement. So if you have an antenna that's rattling right now, there's only been a few at this point. I don't even remember, 3, maybe 4, but I think 3 units that had a faulty antenna. That is a completely different issue than this range drop issue, although that definitely would cause a range drop, but you should probably have it from the very beginning. So we will still go through the process, but that would be handled differently. They'd probably just send you, I can't speak for them, but realistically, they'd probably just send you a replacement antenna. Or in the case of power issues, they may send you a new power cable or work through it with you. Network stats update. I'm going to run through a few things real quick, just so everybody's up to date. We're approaching 4,000 active stations on the network. Pretty cool. There are others. There are other stations that are on as well, but we kind of keep track of how many were contributing yesterday. So that's why I call them active stations. They were active yesterday. Just over 50% of the network is now running on HiFix devices, which is pretty cool. Almost, last I looked, about 3,600 HiFix stations have been provisioned. What that means, and I think Robin covered it last AMA, it's basically we're involved in making sure that the stations can be onboarded, and that goes through a provisioning process. But that also means that those are being final packaged and being shipped out. And I know through what I understand from HiFix, that means that they're leaving a factory, they're going to a proper distributor so that they can be shipped out to the customer. But that's good news. That means there's plenty of stations being sent out. And I know there's a lot more. Maybe Robin has numbers, but there's a lot more that are ordered.
Yeah, I think last I heard, it's about 4,500 that additional that have been ordered.
So lots of numbers, big numbers.
Yeah,
Huge.
but we're seeing actually a lot of deployments now in actually new markets, which is exciting, like the MENA region. So Saudi Arabia, Dubai, UAE, Qatar, and also in Latin America, we're seeing a lot of orders. So that those are quite exciting. Yeah.
Yeah. Quick update on those that have HiFix stations. There is a firmware that's going to be released this week, probably right at the end of the week, push to stations. And it is going to accomplish multiple things. The most notable are probably LTE support. So you can obtain a LTE MPCIe card and a SIM card and run your station off grid using that. From people who are used to the BYOD stations, they're familiar with the capability of TAR 1090, which for those of you who are still new to the project, TAR 1090 is the local interface that shows you planes flying around your area that you're receiving messages from. On BYOD, a common thing was to install an overlay that shows you what your theoretical range area is, and it's from a site called heywhatsthat.com. The HiFix stations will have that capability in this new firmware so that you can kind of get an idea of how far your HiFix should, in theory, reach. Keep in mind, and I'm going to say this now, keep in mind that heywhatsthat.com does not take into account the fact that you may have a house right up against you or some other man-made object. It's basically kind of using terrain to try to figure out what's line of sight and what's not and how far away. So if you have a house jammed right up against you to the south and Hey What's That says, hey, theoretically you can reach about 200 miles to the south, you probably can't because that house is in the way. So just keep that in mind. There'll be a firmware update button. The real importance here is for new stations, people that want to update the firmware as soon as they're onboarding it, as soon as they've installed it, as opposed to the current process, which is HiFix pushes out firmware updates on a daily basis during weekdays. So if you're onboarding on the weekend, you'll be able to update your firmware yourself instead of waiting until Monday. So pretty cool. There'll be a new Wingbits client that resolves some issues that we've got stations, about 50 stations right now that are having UI issues on the statistics page on our site. Those will be resolved. Those stations were still earning rewards, still doing fine, but there was some red in some of the numbers and panels on the statistics page. This will resolve that. And there's a bunch of other enhancements and fixes we won't go over. Announcement will come this week. Final things. As many of you have probably noticed, we've started testing multiple things. We started testing retroactive rewards distribution. So the same thing as what would happen when we hit TGE and we would start sending out, just like the documentation site has a page on it for beta rewards. We would start sending out 1/365th of your accumulated retroactive rewards. We're doing that now, kind of like we're emulating. We're on TGE just so that we can validate the process and mechanisms. And through that, we have actually uncovered a few challenges that we've got to overcome. So that's great. Doing it in advance always is a good idea. Measure twice, cut once, right? So we're measuring a bunch of times. And we'll have everything resolved well before TGE. There will be more visualizations as well prior to mainnet for those retroactive rewards. That'll be announced as we start rolling them out. As I mentioned, just like retroactive rewards, we are changing stuff related to wallets. I made a change log post yesterday about how we are doing some stuff differently. We have also uncovered a couple issues, and some have already been fixed, but a new one has been uncovered, and that's related to the retroactive distribution. If you have owner and host wallets and you have percentages allocated to each, there's a bug related to that. Again, don't worry. None of this stuff is real world tokens. This is DevNet. These are test items. So you're not losing anything. Everything's fine. Final two things. Just a quick mention, because there has been some burbling lightly in our Discord and in some other Discords, talking about worrying about cheaters on our network. Just wanted to clarify, we do have anti-cheat processes in place. We're currently integrating those into the system. Previously, we'd just been kind of monitoring them. As Robin would point out, sometimes it's good to, give someone some rope, let them hang themselves. Same idea with cheaters. Sometimes it's good to give them a little bit of space and see what they try to do so that we can best deal with it and train our systems to handle it. Lastly, real quick call out. I haven't made the announcement yet, but Sean is joined the team. I think Robin can speak to other team stuff, but Sean, who is here in the AMA stage audience, has recently has recently joined the team as part of our community support side. So say hi to him if you bump into him, and understand that he's going to take a little bit of time. He is a community member for a long period of time, but just hasn't had the time to stay super active, but is a great person. And some of us on the team have known him for years. So glad to have him aboard. That was it from me. Robin, I know that's a long,
No, it's all good. I really appreciate the detailed updates. I think it was super useful. I just added a point on the anti-cheat models. Like what Mike pointed out, sometimes it's good, especially in DevNet, to let them kind of try some things so we can train our systems. But just to make sure that everyone is aware that these people that, few people that are cheating, they will be banned before mainnet, and that their tokens will be redistributed to the people that should have earned them. So it's not going to overall hurt the community. It's actually quite helpful having them now try different things, so we can essentially learn as much as we can before mainnet. So that's that. On the team side, to fill out, we are in total 21 people now in the team. And I realized the other day that I think we've been pretty quiet compared to maybe before. And actually the reason for being that quiet is that we've just been swamped with good stuff. So I think it's going to make a lot of sense to everybody why it's been a little quiet here before too long. We have a lot of cool stuff going on. A lot of cool stuff going on both the demand and the supply side. So we have, a lot of customer conversations. We have some cool stuff coming out there. We're developing a lot of B2B products that I think are going to be super, super nice. It's going to definitely differentiate us versus our competition. Starcaller, we're not going to track missiles anytime soon, unfortunately, but we're going to track some other cool stuff. So I'll see a lot of people in here asking when mainnet. Mainnet, we're currently hardcore in the process of lining it up, so it's not too far out. It's not this month, but it's getting very close to having everything in order. And it's actually, from my point of view, coming from like a traditional business background, having built multiple other companies, it's just with mainnet, it's you get one chance to do it right. And I think, you have such a, for me, it feels like a really big responsibility towards everyone involved, community, team, to do it as good as we can. Obviously, there's only so many factors you can control, but those factors you need to do a really high due diligence on to make sure you don't screw it up. So we're close. It's looking really good. Outside of that, Mike, I think some stuff that I want to mention, I can't mention yet because it's going to come out. But I know there's going to be significant enhancement to the website, to our B2B products. We have some more customers we're working with now, which is exciting. So some of those I think are going to come out as announcements. I know we have it with at least a couple of them to be able to publicly release announcements. So that's very, very exciting. I've been traveling a lot until the recent month. I was all over the place. First Dubai, then Consensus in Toronto, and then Solana Accelerate in New York. So now I'm home. Alex, my co-founder, who's currently on a little Swedish island. We got selected as a top startup to compete in this called Tech Arena here in Sweden, and it's actually Sweden is a small country, so this event for Sweden is pretty big. All the politicians are there. All the pretty much everyone who's anyone in the tech industry is going to be there. So it's going to be nice exposure for us, and also nice to meet some people. But Mike, besides that, I think we can just actually, because I see a lot of questions, so we can hop into the questions.
Okay, let me hit real quick. I didn't scroll all the way up. I was kind of watching, but I think the first one. Okay, two things. So, Dream Learner, or I don't know, DRMLNR, whatever. How waterproof are the units? They are tested to be waterproof. They are IP67 as they sit, and they have been literally like dunked in and held under in water. So they are. The question is, can you make them unwaterproof by doing things to them? Yes, obviously, any device you can kind of manipulate and make things worse. We do have instructions in our onboarding that we have passed on from HiFix on how to handle the devices to maintain them properly. Basically, not using cutting implements around it, not swinging it around by the antenna, or even just carrying it by the antenna. Things like that could cause future problems. But HiFix is aware of that one video I mentioned earlier. They were investigating, and I think they have some solutions to deal with further waterproofing, just to kind of handle these edge cases where they are showing water intrusion, but they shouldn't. So I don't want to speak too much on it. It's not my place. It's really on HiFix to discuss this. So I, again, kind of defer to their announcement. The only other one that I wanted to respond to was soon after that, Eagle Eye. I didn't catch this before I finished talking, but real quick, that TAR 1090 Graphs 1090 on button, we think it's so critical that we requested HiFix change the firmware to enable them by default, and they will be enabled by default on machines going out now and in the future. So anybody that receives them will have TAR 1090 and Graphs 1090 enabled by default, as opposed to having to turn it on later. I think it's just so instrumental in trying to keep, not only from a fun participant perspective to see what's going on, but also from a debugging perspective. If you can see the history of the unit over time, it's super helpful compared to like, well, how does it look from today now that I notice a problem? That's not that helpful. Yeah, sometimes it is. Anyway.
Okay, I finally found where in the chat you were. So perfect timing. So Payace asked when the HiFix announcement timing will be, this week or a couple of weeks. I would expect next week, as I mentioned that the founder Mike is coming back from a trip this week, so we want to align with him and get the final details.
Yodel
by the way,
go ahead.
I have a cool thing, by the way, that I just want to mention that I forgot to mention earlier. Now, with the current network we have, with approximately 1/10 of the stations compared to the competition, what they at least claim, we cover 75% of the data that they cover. So I think that just goes to show, like, you guys are so much better at deploying stations and optimize them that we actually can cover so much more with way less stations than they can. And that's what some of our customers also have mentioned recently, which is super exciting validation. Sorry, Mike, where were you?
No, that's interesting to know. You think a crazy idea of incentivizing people to actually have a good install as opposed to just sitting in a bathtub in their basement. It kind of works out. Um,
Yeah.
uh, Yodel Kid, Yodel Kid. There's two I's in your name. Very confusing. I don't want to ask on vocal, but what does average 30 to 70% mean? So, for anybody not aware, Yodel Kid is speaking of the new ranking that shows up in the claim panel on the top left of your main overview page. Uh, that gives you an idea of how important, and there has been a discussion in general chat. We are definitely going to alter this and improve upon it. Currently, your ranking kind of gives an idea. It's purely based on your page rank. So it kind of gives an idea of how important, on some level, your station is to our network. Like if you disappeared tomorrow, would your disappearance, if you went offline or something, would that impact our ability to provide quality data? I know I'm dumbing it down a little bit, but the idea, I just want to make it basic so everybody can understand. It's the idea of how important is your station to our network. So if you are in the 30 to 70%, you're not alone. In fact, you're with about 40% other people, including me. So nothing's wrong with that. It just means you're middle of the pack. If you are a station that is in a semi-saturated area, there's plenty of stations also around covering hundreds of miles above you. You're just one of maybe 10 or 20 or 30 contributing to hexes. You're going to probably fall in this range. The people who are at a higher percentile are more likely to be people who have unique setups in very sparsely covered areas. They may be one of two or three people covering multiple hexes and providing data that if they were to go offline tomorrow, at the way the network sits today, if they were to go offline, that would impact the quality of our data because we're missing unique data points. We are going to make some changes to that. I don't know. The most recent discussion was around having two ranks, which is basically your rewards rank. So where do you sit among all the people that are getting rewards strictly based on the rewards for yesterday and that total versus per station versus also having maybe your importance or your network page ranking, which will give you an idea of how important of an install you have for the network. I don't know. Both stats are probably really cool information. I'm always a true believer. More information's better. So we're figuring it out. Right now, this was just a first swing at it, and it's not a bad swing. So I like it.
Perfect. Jelkinas, are you saying WB200 not working with TAR 1090 or not working in general? I'll answer the TG question. Not too far off. I can't give out the specific date yet.
Glock cocked. Real quick, missing data for the type column in TAR 1090 UI. I remember that issue. I am not sure the answer right now. I will double check into that. I'll make a note.
Cool. And then I'm scrolling down. Star Caller, when is drone tracking? So we're looking at that right now because we're in some interesting discussions. So it's not going to be until after summer, but it's being worked on the back end. Let's see, where are we at? Another mainnet question. Yeah, I wish we could track missiles. It'd probably be pretty good, Starcaller, but they don't like to transmit their location. I did see some crazy videos, though, of people flying into Dubai, seeing the missiles out the window. That must be an interesting experience. I just hope they stop. It would be better for everybody.
Yeah, I think I'd have to check my pants after that.
Yeah, it'd be so scary. Glockcocked asks here, can we have the ability to update the TAR 1090 version manually from the local console? Mike, that's my question.
That's been discussed on some level. I think the challenge there is we'd prefer to go with known good working versions of the software that goes out. I mean, these are kind of ready to run devices, so we kind of want to make sure that it keeps going. But I do get your point. Like the idea is I could click a button, if I do get a bad version, I just have to wait for the TAR 1090 author to make an update, and then I can do it again. I will take it under advisement, and we can see if that's going to be possible. I don't know, though, but we'll ask.
And then the next one, Pay Ace asked, any cool features you guys are building for possible customers that you're excited about and can talk about? Well, I am very excited about a couple of them that I can't talk about yet, but I can tell you kind of some updates on what the customers use now. Because initially, when we signed our first customer, which was Spire Global, that was last year, they bought like the global live stream of data, so essentially all the data. Now we have customers using different type of data products. Like we have a small airline using, it's called a price per tail live stream. So essentially, they get a live stream for only their planes in their fleet to track it. So that one is pretty exciting. It's also super easy for customers to onboard on it. They can just add on their own tails. We have some customers now using data for specific locations, like cities, if they operate in the cities. So they use like location-based live stream, which is really cool. And then also customers now using historical data. So those are like the live products that people pay for now, the different customers. We are working on some different ways of delivering the data, but it will still be a live stream. It would just, different customers have different requirements. And then we have a really cool product that's kind of working behind the scenes that I can't announce yet, but it's amazing. So hopefully we can announce that before too long. We just want to make sure we're ready because it's too good to prematurely announce, I feel like.
Yeah,
let's see.
100%. And I'm also on board. Yeah. Super cool. I think everybody will be super pumped about it.
Yeah, it's so good. It's so good. Tico and Basa, can you say when low altitude bonus reward will commence? So we have actually low altitude is running on the side. I think the delay is really due to a couple of things. One, how to budget for it properly, which we have a few different options. But the main thing is related to some other big contracts we're talking about. We're waiting for the specifics to essentially map out what they need. But initially, I think the low altitude bonus will be initially for the 500 largest airports. So now it's not going to be 40,000. So we're going to start with the largest ones because the top 300 airports, just the top 300 cover 80% of all traffic. So it's really, we're waiting for a little bit of customer specifics. That's kind of the holdup, but it is working and running as I've been running for a while, actually. So really apologize for the delay, but it is coming.
And prior to mainnet, obviously.
Oh yeah, for sure. Michael said, what is a piece of advice you would give someone with a miner for 2 days? Well, it seems suitable that Michael will answer Michael here.
All right, Mom. So, I mean, the best advice, if it's been running for 2 days, go relax, man. Have some fun. You wait all this time, you got it set up, go enjoy. But if you're wanting to just make sure you optimize, obviously the biggest optimization you can do for any install for you or for anybody else joining the project in the future, height is might. You want clear line of sight. So however high you need to get the station to clear as many reasonable obstacles that are close by to you. Like I can't clear 60-foot trees near me. It would look ridiculous. I would have this thing just waving around at the top of a pole, but I can get it as high as possible to clear as many close obstacles. And that will result in the best coverage, the best message reception, best rewards. Don't put it under metal, near metal. That's about it. I mean, ideally, they're pretty self-serving, self-sufficient devices. As long as it's running and receiving messages, you are about 80% of the way there. The rest is just making sure it's in the best position that you have available to you on your property. Or worst case, if you just realize you have not an ideal property due to trees. I saw someone post on another Discord, and I totally agreed with some of the comments that like this is not an ideal property. Reach out to friends and family. Like there may be somebody out there that would be willing to host it that has a far better situation. Like there's no heavy tree coverage around them. They're on the top of a hill. You know, anything you can do to get above all the obstacles is perfect. That's it.
Yeah.
Actually, I might as well answer the next one. Is it generally better to leave gain on auto or config it to like say 44 or 48? And this is from Prelay. I don't know. I might need glasses. I would say leave it on auto if you don't know better. There's definitely an advantage to try to fine tune your gain in certain situations, but it really comes with experience of knowing why to do it. I have been running a fixed gain now for about 3 weeks on my MGW 310 because I know I get a lot of very low overhead flights, and I know auto gain tries to compensate for that literally minute to minute or quicker. So for me, I would prefer it not to bring the gain down because this one really close plane when I have a lot of, you know, a reasonable airport near me and a lot of traffic further out. So there are reasons, and we can discuss it in, I don't know, setup discussion channel or something if you want to go into it in more depth.
Perfect. Thanks, Mike. Busy exec asks, do you have an infographic visual example about 9 new slices? I don't know what you mean by slices, but essentially how it's gonna, it's not set in stone, but pretty much it's gonna be small super hexes around those airports. And if you track low altitude rewards in those hexes that are around the airport, that's when you get additional bonuses, pretty much. But they will be, and that's also a thing, like we want to make it visual on the map so you can see where it is so you don't have to guess. So there's a few little pieces left there to make it easy to understand how to do it. 64 asks, what are you doing to improve uptake in Africa and other low install locations? So we're kind of focusing on area by area. So we started with the Middle Eastern region, like the whole MENA region, Northern Africa. We're starting in UAE, Saudi Arabia, Qatar, simply because it's a more commercial value there initially. Africa will be important down the road. From a commercial perspective, there's not as much data in Africa, so we need to focus on MENA region, Southeast Asia, and Latin America first. But I mean, long term, I think what we need to do for some of these lower deployment areas is figuring out how to lower the barrier of entry in a way for people to get a hold of the devices. I think it's a big barrier of entry to pay because they're quite expensive. Honestly, it's a lot. So I think we need to figure out if there's ways around that. We're working with on some partnerships now that, you know, the goal is to offer some type of, they essentially give you the device to host for a reward split or a reduced price, but we're not really so involved in that. But that, I think that's what we need to do. We were supposed to go to an event in Africa actually kind of right now. We unfortunately had to decline because we had so much other stuff going on. But we will spend more time and effort on the area to essentially line up partnerships. We are working on lining up with maybe different universities to get them out there for more of an R&D perspective. So we're going to try. It's just we have so many things we need to do. We have to take them kind of in order.
Hey, Robin. I know
Yes.
we started late, but I originally slotted this for 45 minutes. Do you want to go a bit longer? Do you have the
we
availability?
can go a little bit longer. Yeah, I messed up and was late, so we can go a little bit longer.
All right.
This XS, my first unit will go live in Africa next week or two. That's amazing. Yeah, I mean, I'm every time, like, I'm excited anytime a device goes live, but it's like, it's even more fun when they go live in an area, of course, where we don't have so many. So I look at the map every day. I look at our data. I was like, oh, where are the new ones? Like, we get a notification when new ones come online and kind of what region they're in. It's super exciting. Crypto G, they need to be waterproof, number one priority. Yes, and I know, like Mike said, they've actually done a lot of stuff to essentially further waterproof it, and also like the edge cases is really like maybe from how it's handled, if it's been swung around by the antenna. I think there's a seal that maybe got damaged, or someone tore off the cap of it. So they've done a lot of stuff to fix that, I know, but I'm excited for the official announcement, hopefully next week.
Yeah, if I could make one quick comment on that. So nothing's ever going to be waterproof 100% because humans are involved. Humans can break things. I just wanted to clarify because we had one unit that obviously someone used a pair of pliers on the antenna collar and wrenched it so tight that they literally broke part of the casing on the top of the unit, and I guess didn't realize it. So there was a little bit of water intrusion that way. Like, there is the ability, if you get an what do you call it, a box knife, I can make anything non-waterproof with a box knife. So they need to be manufactured so that under normal situations, normal conditions, that water will not get inside. But they're never going to make it so people can't like do something. But I do note that, again, that HiFix has put out some instructions, some suggestions on how to handle these things to minimize any kind of negative impact to them. They are expensive devices in general, I would say, and they do have, high performance electronics chips and everything in there. So ideally they should be handled in the way the manufacturer suggests. That's all I'll say for that.
I realized I missed a question. Reverse Shell is asking for a video on how to use TAR 1090. Does the one we have work for the HiFix device TAR 1090?
We don't have one. We don't have any video that like really covers TAR 1090. It's kind of a point and click and hope for the best. I understand it's a slightly cryptic interface. It is an open source software. There's documentation out there, but even then it is kind of vague. It might be cool. I would wish a participant to, if we have anybody out there that's a YouTuber that wants to talk about how cool TAR 1090 is and what you can click on and what each of the buttons does, that would be great. If no one else gets to it, then maybe we can put something out.
Oh, very nice. Pay Ace asks if we will have a partnership with SIM card providers or can recommend anything when that feature goes live. So we're talking to a few actually, so we'll see what comes out of that. But that's not necessarily from only using the SIM card in the device. I mean, the only SIMs I use, honestly, is I use eSIMs when I'm out traveling, so I don't have any good suggestions. Mike, I don't know if you have any. I guess it depends on where you live.
Yeah, it's going to be heavily dependent on your region and what's available. So I can't speak to it. I don't use anything myself either.
Yeah, sorry, Pace. Simon said, can you comment on the new info that appeared a few days back on the beta rewards next to the OG rewards, please?
Yeah.
Do you know that one, Mike? Because I actually don't know what it said.
I can comment on what it's supposed to be real quick, and then if we have further questions, we can discuss it outside of the stage, Simon. So the intent is, when you look at the claim area and it shows your claimable rewards, it also shows beta rewards. The beta rewards are the retroactive rewards that you earned prior to TGE. Again, like I mentioned earlier in the stage, we've kind of acted like we're already TGE so that we can test those mechanisms. That is ideally what it should show. We do have some glitches, I would say, that are being actively worked on right now that will impact that. So know that what you see today is probably not what it's going to be even near term. It'll change as far as how it looks and potentially some of the calculations. We found a small bug that could affect those calculations. So we're working on it, but this is why, again, we're on DevNet and able to work on this stuff prior to it being live on TGE mainnet.
Yeah, exactly. Crypto G asked if you can own as many devices as you want. Yes, as long as there are hexes available, you can go wild.
I would limit you to probably about 41,000 units. I think that's how many hexes there are, right?
I
Oh
think
no,
there's actually
that's coverage
report.
hexes. Never mind.
Yeah,
Yeah, there's a
yeah.
lot. 7 times that, or no, 49
But
times
I
that.
would say I would argue quality over quantity on those. But yeah, we did have someone ordered 200 devices actually. We heard. Um, Living on Crypto said, I chose to get refunded in tokens for locations I reserved back in the day. Will that be paid to the owner's wallet without splitting with the host? Yes, 100%. And after that, like, because initially people that are in here are probably going to be very confused what this means. If you're newer, initially when we first started the project, you actually bought your area, and then we completely changed that because we realized that was a bad model, and people could choose to get the refund in money right away or tokens. There initially was a vesting period on those tokens. We are working on that now for mainnet to reduce it drastically or remove the vesting period for the tokens, so you just get them right away. But they will all come to your wallet. Where are you, Mike? On Eagle Eye?
Yeah, I was just reading it.
Okay, you read that one because that's my question.
Oh my gosh. Eagle Eye, I'm not even sure I'm going to get the question. I don't see a question mark anywhere. You can see the antenna effective distance and the automatic gain control operating in graphs 1090. That's true. For anybody that's not familiar, you can go under the miscellaneous chart and you will see the gain number go up and down as it tries to handle basically the strength of the signal and compensate for it so nothing gets blown out. But I think he was just more commenting on it, not asking a question. So,
Gotcha. And the next one, Dorian asked if ship tracking is on a realistic roadmap or just an idea. Dorian, let me ask you, would you track ships if we wanted to track them? Let's see. But I mean, realistically, it's definitely possible. Let's see. Eagle Eye military aircraft are not tracked classified signals. They fly by me. My antenna doesn't see them. I can tell by the graphs. So some military aircraft you still need MLAT for. Some maybe if they do something, they actually just don't send out the signal. But in general, on the map, we track a lot of military airplanes. I think just sometimes they're not sending the signals.
yeah, I think he's saying the auto gain will compensate for that plane sometimes. Jeff, where's the 30% to 70% info? Okay, so that was just a range info for ranking. Top left of your main overview page when you log into the Wingbits site, you'll see a claim area, and at the top of the claim, there is a section for ranking your best performing station. And it'll have a rank number. It doesn't have the denominator yet, but it'll have also a range of kind of where you fit in the network. Some people are out there. I've seen who the top performer is in our network, who was very sad the next day when they dropped to number 2. I don't know if they've gotten back up to number 1. I don't see them in here right now. But yeah, they are out there. The top 1%, top 10%. If you're in the 30 to 70%, you're probably in a really good spot. I mean, you're an average contributor. Everything's fine.
Pay Ace asks if he wants to replace a unit in a hex, what steps should he take? Like changing from that would be 200 to a 310. He just want to make sure he doesn't lose the hex in a busy city.
We can discuss this outside of here, but ideally you make sure that your station is ready to be set up to swap in. You would move. This is probably best outside the stage. Pay Ace.
Yeah. Maybe open a ticket, then we can help you out.
It is possible, and it is fairly straightforward. So yes, we can help you.
Let's see where we are now.
Is there any Eagle Eye? Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
Eagle Eye had a question. Is there any issue with fixed gain damaging the receiver from strong signal? No, there's not. It won't damage anything. You might clip messages. You may lose messages. I have seen people with a cranked up gain putting out like 60 to 80% hot messages And they've dropped their coverage and their reception to almost nothing because every message is blown out on the receiver, but it doesn't physically damage the receiver. You lose all the messages. It can't be decoded. Anyway.
Then Tikron Basa says that he's having some issues on the overview page for rewards data points, that it doesn't show past June 18th. I assume it's because, we've been doing a lot of stuff, testing things, so it's just a glitch. So that's gonna resolve itself, but your rewards are not lost, and it will be updated.
Yeah, it's only on the map page, and devs are working on it, so it will be fixed shortly. Obviously, devs are doing a lot of changes in the back end. APIs are being changed. Things are being streamlined so that we're preparing for mainnet and increased volume of new stations and new data. So things are being optimized and changed. In that, sometimes things still point to the wrong data source or something. In this case, there was a change, and it is being addressed so that the map will show the proper stuff. And also, for anyone else, at least for here today, probably not on YouTube because nobody will care by then, the coverage map is also affected. If you go mouse over, click on anybody's hex for a coverage hex, it only has data from the 18th and shows those hexes from the 18th. But that should be addressed before this is actually posted on YouTube. So,
awesome. And then let's see. Daniel asked, instead of lowering prices of devices in Africa and low uptake areas, why can't you incentivize through rewarding better? So it's definitely an option to implement like bounty areas where, if you deploy in a specific area that we really need from a customer point of view, it's just similar to what GeoNet does. I mean, all the super hexes they have is strictly based on customer requirements where they need better coverage. We could do the same. It's mainly at the moment we have to prioritize the areas that generates the most revenue, because if you look at pretty much any project, like what really will separate a good project from a bad project long term is the ability to generate money that you can then use for things to push back to the community. So we're mainly focusing on based on customer priority. But when Africa comes, then it's definitely a valid option to do a bounty or something like that.
We should probably close it up soon, but I did notice Living on Crypto said I would track ships in Sweden with do-it-yourself preferably. Okay.
Okay. Well, maybe there's something there with the boats. Boat token. Ship it. I don't know. Let's see. Where am I? I'm gonna see because I have to hop off. So I'm just let's see. Glockcocked asked, is Wingbits seeing increased demand from military orgs to identify areas where GPS jamming is happening? So a little bit. GPS jamming has actually increased. I think it's like 400% in the last year or so. So it's an issue. We are working. So some of our customers, because in the data, you have the quality indicator that essentially that's what's used to create the GPS jamming maps, like gpsjam.org and so on. So customers actually, we can filter those out to clean up the data, but a lot of customers want them in there because they use it for GPS jamming detection. But we will probably at some point in time have a specific product for just the GPS jamming aspect. So we do think that's a pretty big demand. Let's see. 619 OTA says, when increase hex size? Probably never. Probably, if anything, if it gets too bad, we would have to just lock. But we can't increase it. It's too far gone.
It's too far. How many active units are there currently? I mentioned at the beginning, 30. I don't know. What did I say earlier?
Almost 4,000.
Yeah. Approaching 4,000. Yep.
Yeah. I think we on average, I'd say we onboard 30 a day that come online, something like that.
Yeah, keep in mind on any given day there is a small subset of people that are like offline, whether they onlined already and are now moving it to a host, or their power's out, or it's a storm, or whatever. So there's always a small percentage, but we try to just keep track of how many were active during the previous 24-hour period. That's probably the best indicator we got.
Yeah. Exactly. And then I see one more. Sorry if I missed someone, but Trilex asks if the rank gives you benefit or will in the future. Right now, it just shows you what you are. I guess that if you are higher rank, most likely your rewards are a little bit higher. But in the future, we don't know. But I think in the future, if we do multiple, we would have to do multiple different leaderboards or ranks, because if you only reward based on specific things, it excludes people that maybe just live in an area where it's impossible to compete. So I think there should be ranks for many things. You can control maybe how long you stay online, or how long you've been in a project. So it can be different ranks, but right now it's just a fun feature to show you.
All right.
Uh,
You think it's about
I
time?
think, yeah, it's about time. But really sorry for being late, but really excited to see. We were 78 at some point, I think, which was really exciting.
Yeah.
So really appreciate everyone's time listening into me and Mike blabbling here.
Yeah.
Awesome.
I blabble a lot.
Thanks. Yeah, that's
All right. Well, thanks everybody. See you later.